Hello to everyone. Hi you guys. I hope everyone is doing okay. So I've been cooking a lot the past couple of days, so I really didn't need a lot of food. I made chili mac. I made Spanish rice. I still have some left. And I made bread, and I had quite a bit of food, but I have some sausage, and I want to make some sausage gravy to go with my bread. So I fried my sausage up, and I broke it up in pieces. And while I'm cooking, I also want to do a quarterly review. I have 150 new followers, and that is so many people, when you really think about it. My views are down, but sometimes YouTube will remove people if they haven't been watching for a while. Possible some people couldn't afford their cell phone bill. More than possible. So, I made 4 cups of iced tea, just black tea, and I'm eating 1 lemon per day to keep my vitamin C up. I'm also taking vitamin C tablets. And I don't have any lozenges because, I couldn't find any. So, one thing that is really, really good to make is gravy. I make mine kind of thin, and then, I eat it like soup, basically. So I just have to heat my grease up a little. Okay, so there was good comments this time. Well, there always is. Ruth Johnson mentioned getting bug spray in case the murder hornets fly in. I thought that was a good point. The hornets are huge, and they have a stinger a 1/4 inch long. I think some of this stuff, it's possible, could be bioterrorism. And then Jessica made a good point that you can use your bug spray like a defense weapon. Let's see if I can find mine. Yes. I buy this for $1, and you just, if someone was to get in your house to defend yourself, you'd spray them in the face with your Dollar Tree bug spray. The hornets, it might not be a good idea if it's a big nest of hornets. I think it'd be best to call animal control, unless like one got in your house. That's a scary thought. I had hornets one time in my, so I fried my sausage and I broke it up in little pieces, and now I'm just putting some flour. At one time we had a flour shortage. It wasn't long ago. It wasn't even a week ago. And I got this flour at Albertsons. I find it to be good. I paid $1.50. That's not the cheapest. I got this flour. I really love this flour at 99¢ only, but they didn't have any at that time. Then when they got some, and this one is 2 pounds, and this one is 2 pounds. This is really good flour. So you need quite a bit of flour, if you want to make bread all the time. And so that was Ruth Johnson, get spray in case the murder hornets fly in. Carol Wasson, she got a freezer. Good job, Carol. One of the neighbors was moving. Out here, people were just going out buying refrigerators and freezers and cramming. They were probably going to Costco and cramming their freezers, new freezers and refrigerators full of food, which was a good idea. So that was a great comment. And then Carol Wasson also mentioned for a big pot of food, a big can of baked beans and hot dogs. Nothing wrong with that. That's good. And it's cheap too. And you can make some cornbread. MJ, you are not alone. Okay, I love this because it's like Michael Jackson. And I am one of the biggest Michael Jackson fans, Elvis fans, and George Michael's, and I could go on, but sometimes I will, at night, I will just watch Michael Jackson videos nonstop. I've seen them all a zillion times, but if I should somehow find one I haven't seen, that is a good situation. Doesn't happen too often. Okay, so I was down on the crushed red pepper flakes, and I found out something. You know, the crushed red pepper, you can grind them, gives your food a really good taste. Last night, you know, my Spanish rice and salt and pepper for this. And then what I try to do is find dented cans. So I got this can of milk. So I mix 1.5 cups milk, 1.5 cups water. And so this is going to be some good gravy, you guys. I think it needs a little more flour. You want to brown your flour to take that raw taste out of your flour. So that was a great comment, Carol. Okay, also, well, okay, now MJ, you are not alone. This was a really great comment. And what it was is, you know, I mentioned you couldn't find, out here there was no baking powder, you know, to make the fry bread. So fine, no yeast, no baking powder. So she posted under comments, you guys, check out the comments. If you're new, read the comments. And it was, in place of baking powder, 5/8 teaspoon cream of tartar. So that would be 1/2 teaspoon plus 1/8 teaspoon cream of tartar and 1/4 teaspoon baking powder. And that's just like cream of tartar. I'm going to start a special notebook for these kind of recipes, these kind of things that you don't really want to forget, because nothing is worse than, well, if there's no bread and there's no potatoes, it's going to be nothing but really, really bad. Really bad. You know, we take it for granted. We run to Submarina, we get bread. We run to McDonald's, we get hamburgers. We go to the store and we get bread. And what's really irritating is they offer you alternatives. Okay, there's no yeast, but we have plenty of bread for you to buy. Or we have baking, it was baking powder, you know, there where the yeast should be. Oh, and then one of the, I didn't write down who this was. This was not good. Oh, it was Jin Toki. In Chicago, they are low on cheese, beef, rice, and chicken. So if you guys could leave, ooh, my gravy's looking good. If you guys could leave comments of what they're short on in your area, that gives us a good idea what may coming our way. And, oh, and Lyric Travels, great comment, yeast at Sprouts. And my impulse was to drive straight down there, and I thought, nah, just go in the morning because, you know, all the people that shop after work. And if you're out there working in the trenches, you're one of those who might possibly get the coronavirus. So it's bad enough I got to shop where you work, but I don't want to shop with you where you don't work. I mean, extremely careful. Now, what we were short on here is toilet paper, short again. Flour, we got flour now. Beans, there's very little beans. It might have something to do with us being San Diego, you know, lots of Hispanics. Yeast, no yeast. Baking powder, we do have that, but no $1 packages. Cans like soup and meals. And then they come back and then they're gone. And this is not good because just like the toilet paper, then we had toilet paper, and so then you rest on your laurels, and guess what? No toilet paper. So from now on, today I was driving around and I did find some toilet paper, but from here on out, I will buy the big ones every time I go to the store. I'm not going through this. Shortening, the price is way up. I was able to get it at Aldi's, and sometimes they have it at Walmart. Meat, now low on meat, you can only get 1 or 2 packages, and eggs. So that was some of the great comments. If I miss your comment, it wasn't on purpose. Okay, now I want to show you guys something. I've been experimenting around making bread with various starters. Here is the one that I made one. This is what happened. But this is only half a batch. So this is an incredible good looking loaf of bread when you consider how I made it. And I will tell you in a minute. And what I made it for was to eat with this gravy. Gravy is looking good. If you fry your sausage good, your gravy, look at this, you guys. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Hi, you guys. Love from San Diego. Okay. It smells good. Okay, so last night I made this starter. Let me give you a little shot of my tasty gravy. Take a look at this, you guys. That'll do. And then I have my Spanish rice that I made, and this is actually a lot. It's actually enough for 2 meals. All I gotta do is heat that in the microwave. And then I made some peach jello for dessert. Walmart. Okay, so what I like to, okay, so now, the night before last, I made the starter out of pizza dough mix. But I thought, why can't I just make my own regular bread mix? And it worked really good. So what I did, this is for half a batch. In place of starter, the night before, I added, I made a flour mixture of 1/2 tablespoon yeast and 2 cups wheat flour. You can use white. Or else, before I used, I used 1/4 cups because I just wanted enough for 1 batch. This is enough for 2 batches. 1/4 cup flour and yeast. 2 cups flour, and 1/2 tablespoon yeast. And now I'll just keep this in the refrigerator. So it was 2 cups. I took out 1/4 cup, and that's enough for 8 loaves of bread. But when you're using the starters, your bread is going to activate slower. So 1/4 cup of this flour and yeast. 1/2 tablespoon of sugar, 1/4 cup warm water mixed with the sugar. Then I added instead of the yeast, I used the flour and 2 cups flour, 1/2 tablespoon yeast, and 1 small potato. And it activates overnight. I mixed the flour, which is the yeast, the sugar and water really good before adding the potato, which I cut small. And then today what I did in this bread, and I didn't know how it's going to work, I took some of the liquid, which was my yeast, and I ground the potato with some of it and added it to my yeast. And then what I did is that's how I made my starter. And then, I know this is tedious for some of you, but there may come a time that there's no bread on the shelves and no yeast. So here is what I did. I used, instead of the active dry yeast, I used my starter. And then I mixed it with the water and the sugar. And then what I did to activate my starter was I heated a large pan and I covered it with water and put it in the oven to activate my yeast. And then it activated there. Last night when I saw my yeast was done, I slipped it in the refrigerator. And so my potatoes were a little bit cold, so that retarded them taking. But once I ground my potatoes in the blender and added them back in, it activated very, very quickly. So here is my bread. And this is enough bread for 2 days. So by using your starter, you know, the way I did it, you have enough for 2 days. You're using very little yeast. So what I do when nobody is around is I dip my bread into my gravy. Usually I put it in a bowl. This is kind of uncivilized, but hey, it's what I do when I can live on gravy easily. So you can save your meat drippings to make the gravy. And if you have evaporated milk or powdered milk or any kind of milk, that's good. So we're getting cheap here with these big pots of food. Someone said, how about casseroles? I think it was Jessica. If you guys have good videos on casseroles, can you leave it so that my followers can find it and watch it? Also, I'm going to be posting, check out Homestead Tessie Mobile Home Living. Okay, so what happened to her? I think it was a real estate crash. They fell into hard times financially, and it's basically what she does. And what she did is she just really started living within her means, and so that's what we all need to do. Okay, so now I want to mention some things. So, okay. Now, the way disease is generally transmitted is food, like food handlers, or contaminated food like poultry, like pork. One of the things that the Chinese did is they didn't destroy the pork, they continued to sell it. Water, contaminated water. You know, anything there's been cases in our country of contaminated water. Air, contaminated air, like no masks. Anal mucosa, like AIDS, gets into the bloodstream anally, which is indelicate to mention, but what they're saying is this disease is mutating. So we have to be very careful. We have to think of all the ways we can avoid disease. Malnutrition, that's why this is worrisome with these food shortages. Virus, bacteria. They say this is viral. Okay, overexertion past the biochemical limits, that weakens you down and that will kill you. Unclean living conditions, that's going to make you more prey to everything you can imagine. Virulent strains. Some strains are a lot more virulent. That's the thing you have to worry about. You know, some of them are hardly transmittable, and some of them are very transmittable, and we don't know who's got what. Also, large crowds, like before the Spanish flu, the Spanish flu made its way into the population by a large parade. Here, people are refusing to do the, you know, the self-isolation for whatever reason. It's not very smart. And some people just will not follow rules. Like I saw a few cases. I saw cases of an unnamed store, and the customers are not allowed to enter the store, but the employees didn't have a mask. But you can't enter the store without a mask. And then I heard them mouthing out, I worked here 28 years. I go, wow. I think some of them are getting a big head, you know, this front line thing. You will catch this stuff if you are exposed. China sold contaminated pork. We know they did. There's also targeted individuals, I believe. You know, Russia had some doctors that jumped out of windows. That's suspicious. And China's just disappeared. Some of their scientists and doctors, I wouldn't bet they were in America. Also, there seems to be a high incidence of African people getting this in the UK. A possible chemtrail, possible airborne, possible trade winds. You want to think about all that. Biochemical weapons, that would be germs and virus. And insects, dangerous insects like those hornets. Remember Operation Cherry Blossom? I think it was the Japanese that let loose the balloons full of lice, and these hornets are of Japanese origin. And then, you know, chemtrails. You know, you saw in China them spraying all over, supposedly disinfectant, but who really knows? Also, I think they lie about the numbers for sure. And so this is a long video, and you've heard the expression too cheap to, too broke to pay attention. That's because when people are under stress, it's very hard to pay attention. Another thing is bad lights. You know, when you're trying to conserve and your lights are low. You know, I used to study. I could not concentrate if there wasn't enough good light. So this worries me about the homeschool kids. Okay, so now, stressors. We want to be aware that things are stressors. No toilet paper, no yeast, no meat, no jobs. Those are stressors. So you do want to save money by doing everything you can. You can turn off your breaker switches and everything except the refrigerator. But really, you want to stockpile light bulbs if you can. Also, another thing that needs to be considered is allergens, chemical poison, or poisonous elements. You know, we don't really know. We know what they tell us, and that's all we know. But we do know these modes of, you know, how people pick up disease. So the thing to do is to assume that everybody you know has it, and avoid, you know, getting within 6 feet of people. Today I went to do the laundry. No one was down there. Someone came in. I went back upstairs and got my mask. I take no chances. That's the only way that you can stay safe as a nurse, is to assume. And if there was no protective gear, they should not have been working. But we know they were. Okay, so take no chances. Now, another thing. Let me see if this thing is still going. Okay, another thing is, if things get bad enough, the only thing that may keep us safe is God. So what we want to do is we want to say, okay, I want to embrace the good in myself. You know, the Holy Spirit. You know, you are a spirit. Be a good spirit and reduce the bad by eliminating all wrongdoings and bad actions. That way you're safer. God can protect you. Okay, so you may have noticed, you may have said to yourself, she is a liar, or she is the luckiest person I've ever seen. Well, to tell you the truth, I am like one of the luckiest people I've ever seen. You may remember I was very sick in January. I mean, very sick. I thought I was having a stroke. I went to the emergency room, and as luck would have it, I got a really good doctor. And it wasn't that I wasn't sick, because I was. And I was pretty much sick for a month. But, you know, not sick that I was bedridden, but a lot of it can be attributed to the doctor I got in the emergency room. I knew it. On the way out of there, I heard him tell the nurse to give me Benadryl and Tylenol. So I gave myself 4 more doses when I got home, and I came out of it. I also threw up everything in my stomach before I went, so I was pretty sure that I had eliminated. It could have been anything, but I was extremely lucky. I'm also a believer in healing. One time I had a big heavy backpack, and when I threw it down, I couldn't raise up higher than this. And I was a hairdresser, and one of the women mentioned under comments that it's really hot, you guys, that her hairdresser didn't have any food for her and her kids, and that she was giving her food. I have no doubt my customers would have given me food as well. So I couldn't straighten up, and I went into work. I was working for this lady named Lucy, and I said, Lucy, I hurt myself. I can't straighten up. And just about this time, it was like an invisible wave, and it came by, and I go, it's gone, and I was fine. And things like that have happened to me all my life. Just like how I retired, my ex-husband died, and so I got his retirement. It's not that much, but I thought, you better retire now. My dad died at 66, and my father-in-law died before he could get one Social Security check, and it is not easy to adjust. So basically you could say I am pretty lucky. But I try to stay, one of the things I do, I was in a self-help group, and they said if you want to survive, you have to help people. So every day I do these videos, I pray and I say, if I help one person, that's good. So now, let's see. Okay, so now, I tried. Let's just put it that way. So I started out, this is the year of the extreme frugality. Not because I knew some pandemic was coming, just because, you know, I wanted to try and help myself as much as I could. And then I got sick and went to the emergency room. Okay, now, what will happen is when I say and do something wrong, something will pop into my mind, and I know it was wrong. Okay, I made comments about Warren Buffett selling his stock, and so I was thinking, well, when you buy and sell stock, you sell stock to make money. So he did the right thing. He said he has made many mistakes, but he didn't say this was a mistake, and it probably wasn't. So that was wrong. You know, it's his money. He buys and sells to make money. So you should sell at the best time. That's what it's all about. Then Elon Musk sold his stock, and it came out today that they are removing the manufacturing from China, which I think is a good idea. And so I thought, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Remember our discussion about, is this a depression? One indicator is manufacturing. So, well, why would he do this? Well, to make millions of dollars. Yeah, billions. Yeah, that's true. In anticipation of the second wave in China, yeah, that's probably coming, to be realistic. And possibly we want to manufacture with robots that are even cheaper than the Chinese. Robots don't get sick. And if anybody was going to manufacture with robots, it would probably be Elon Musk. So, I'm kind of taking back what I said yesterday, and that's what I'm saying today. Okay. So then I lost $125 of my money because I turned 65 and I had to pay for Medicare. And I wasn't griping about that. It's just that it didn't leave me one single dime, not even a penny of money. So I went to the food banks and the pantries. And so I actually went 6 weeks. What would have happened to me if I didn't have a stockpile? Well, it would have been really bad. Finally, I called 211. And if you don't have any food, I want to encourage you to do that. One time I was doing research on how to get food, not for myself at that time, so I knew some things. But when I called all the churches, several of them have food programs. And so I went to the food pantry 4 times, but on the last time I went, they said, we're out of food, come back Thursday. This was just before the self-isolation. So I said, most likely there's not that much food if there was only food for 10 people. And then the Senior Resource Center closed down, but they said they would bring it to my house. But by then I got food stamps to make up for the money that was taken, so I was back to where I started, so all was good there. And then March 17th started the self-isolation, and someone said, thank you for not calling it, what was I calling it? Anyway, it feels like house arrest. Okay. So a bare bones stockpile would be rice, beans, canned vegetables, and fruit. China is hoarding rice, wheat, and soybeans. It's possible that some of our food is going straight to China, especially if the Chinese own they go, oh, it's a coronavirus. It could be we're selling out to the highest bidders. I wouldn't doubt that. Then you want flour, sugar, yeast, and salt and potatoes, baking powder and baking soda, oatmeal and milk, big pots of food, beans, stews, soup, spaghetti, chili, macaroni and cheese, gravy with potatoes, bread or rice, and Spanish rice. And if anyone has any casserole recipes or videos, please let us know. And so now we don't have any toilet paper or yeast. None. Okay, now. So now I want to go into some tips. Money saving tips. Use in place of toilet paper newspaper. You want to save all your newspapers, and you might be going, well, I don't get the paper. Well, still, you get papers like newspapers and flyers in the mail. Save them all. Possible might have to use for toilet paper. Save your newspapers, and a lot of times you can use them to clean up grimy messes that you'd ordinarily use your paper towels for. Save your rags. You can use those like paper towels, but another bad thought is they could be used for Kotex, which is a bad thought. Buy dented cans and damaged packages. Plant all the seeds out of your food. Okay, so what I did last night is I saved this little bit of seeds, and these are some other seeds that I had there. I think there's some lemon seeds and some apple seeds, so as soon as these dry, I will put them in that jar. You can use this bread to make bread and milk. What I do is I tear it in pieces, and I put sugar and milk on it, or you can eat it like, this is what I do a lot, butter and jam. So I have grape jam. I try to stockpile all kinds of grape stuff. And this gives you a little fruit. So, if you have jam, yummy. If you have jam, you won't run out of fruit. You don't need that much fruit, really. You can also make your own jam easily. Not good. Make big pots of food to eat more than one day. make big pots of food to eat more than one day. Wash your own car and do big loads of laundry and hang dry. So you get those drying racks. They have them at Walmart. Or if you're really broke, wash your clothes by hand. What you do is you wash all the clothes per day. When I first started going to beauty school, back in the day, people weren't lofty, and the teacher said, don't come to school in a dirty uniform. Wash your uniform out the night before, hang it up, and then, you know, you're ready to go. They say one of the reasons people are in debt is people like to feel rich, and they're not rich. Find cheaper ways to do things. Okay, this is cheaper. I found these bags of chili, crushed chili. I can grind them in. So I had like 2 or 3 times as much for $1. That's cheaper. Make your own bread is better. With this potato in your bread, it's probably more nutritious than any bread you're going to buy, especially if you use good flour. Evaluate shortages. So you want to say to yourself, okay, if there's no toilet paper, can I live? Yeah, it'll be gross, but you can survive. Flour, not good. Yeast, not good. Make things you normally buy, like bread, like yogurt, and like cereal. Okay, here is my granola. Make your own cereal. Once you get used to it and you get everything, it's cheaper. When you first start making this stuff, just use what you have. Oatmeal, honey, butter, margarine, coconut, wheat germ. You can put anything, nuts and raisins. Make your own yogurt, and you can put that on top of your Jell-O, or you can eat it with fruit. Just take a screenshot. And the bread starter, here's the bread starter. You make it the night before, and you can grind your potato up. I use 1/4 cup. The flour is the pizza crust, or the 1/2 tablespoon yeast. 2 cups flour, 1/4 cup of that instead of the yeast. And then here's the jam recipe. And then you can make the fry bread. Evaluate credit. So they're saying a lot of people like to feel rich and they're not. You want to protect your credit. Okay, if the credit cards are due, you use your grocery money to pay your credit card, and then you buy your groceries with the credit card money. Or if you have to, you do cash back and pay a bill with that. Also, if you have enough cash back, pull all that out, and you can use that for your car payments and house payments. That'll get you by for, and a lot of people go, that is not sound advice. Well, it's not sound advice to lose your house either. Well, you shouldn't get food stamps because you have a house. Well, you shouldn't sit in your house and starve because you're unwilling to lose your house. And that is not for other people to tell you what to do. What is for them to do is for them. Okay, now the housing crash, which is part of, a depression. Lenders knew that they were lending to people who could never pay the loans, but they were making a bunch of money, and they did it, and people lost their houses, and all kinds of things. Same thing with the school loans and stuff. They knew that it wasn't going to amount to much, but most people would try to pay those off. Stockpile lemon and vinegar for vitamin C, and try to eat it and everything, and buy the big ones, and vinegar for water purification. Also, you can wash your meat and your food in it. Indoor exercise. I posted a video for you guys to see a fabulous 50-30 minute walkout indoors, and you know, you can do it indoors. Just, you know, it's like 1 minute of walking, walk at your own pace, and then 1 minute of exercises, simple exercises, but just do it at your own pace, and you can go 5 minutes at a time and pause it. Cut out most desserts. So you might be going, well, you're certainly not doing that. No, I'm not doing that, but what I'm doing is I'm cutting out big assortments. I'm having like maybe cupcakes or maybe cookies, or, you know, or maybe, you know, I'm not having ice cream, I'm not having chips, I'm just having one kind. In the day, people only ate dessert once a week, if that. Wear things totally out before buying new. I mean, and don't buy multiple items. A lot of people do that. Find things to sell. Okay, things to sell would be like, you see me, I sell junk jewelry, luxury items. Luxury items are going to become expensive, and if you can sell them fairly reasonable, you'll be able to sell them. Clothes, shoes, coats, and jackets, camp gear, household items like crock pots, pans, utensils, blankets, and so, you know, try to find stuff that you can sell in a bazaar or a yard sale, you know, make a little extra money. Maybe a YouTube channel, maybe eBay, maybe swap meet. Stockpile essential items: toilet paper, bath soap, dish soap, laundry detergent. Laundry detergent if you can and you belong to Costco. Laundry booster. I usually buy that at the 99-cent only. Save jars. Buy big sizes or cans, and then, you know, put it in your jars. Don't go back to the old ways. Adjust now and stay adjusted. Don't go, oh, the coast is clear, I have no worries. Ha ha ha. We could be headed for a terrible depression or a famine. Consider education. Okay, right now, you know, people are having to educate their own kids at home, basically, and I'm sure it's not going well for some kids. It's scary and bad, but there's nothing we can do. But consider education of what a liability is going to be if your kids are not educated. Make that a top priority. Standard of living. You know, mostly people live in a house. Some people's houses are bigger and nicer, but basically if your house is clean and your counterpart has a mansion that's clean, that's not actually, you're living nicer, but you're not really living a higher standard of living, unless the person who is in a less nice place is dirty or something like that. House, car, make sure your car runs, and as long as your car is running and fairly clean, yeah, an expensive car is nicer, but it's not really giving you a higher standard of living. Transportation is to get yourself from point A to point B, but a nice car is awesome. Essential items, you know, like washers, like dryers, you know, that kind of stuff. Consider disease ratio. So, you know, in some of these poor areas, the disease could be higher. Okay, now you can look up the COVID cases by zip codes. And there's places in San Diego with cases of 1. And that might be worth considering, like moving, if your area is dangerous, because chances are this is not the end of this. Consider people you rent from. Can you trust these people not to do something to you, like take your apartment at the worst possible time? Also, your neighbors. Are these people you want to live around? Are these people safe? Another thing is, you know, this lack of meat is worrisome. Consider, what will you do if there isn't any meat, or if you can't get any? Well, you're going to have to go to a plant-based diet, and the problem with that is it can be amino acid deficient, and figure out what to do about that. Store water and drink bottled water. I drink bottled, but if I couldn't, I would boil it and try to strain it through some kind of a cheesecloth and maybe put some vinegar in it. But I can refill it here for 20 cents, but that's not always possible. Okay, and ask yourself, is my car likely to last, or is it likely to conk out on me at the worst possible time and give me all kinds of grief? Prepare for possible food shortage by getting a stockpile, a cheap one. You know, start out with an extra bag or two. Okay, assume everyone has the coronavirus and assume that everyone has the virulent type of coronavirus. That's the only thing that's going to keep you safe. I've been seeing some crazy stuff out there. Crazy stuff that I wouldn't consider because it's not safe. Okay, so, maybe you don't know anybody who's had it, right? We know 3 people who got it from a nurse. I'm sure, and it was a nurse they knew. They didn't do it on purpose. The husband got it. The husband did everything he could possibly do. He stayed in a motel, and then his wife got it, and then one of the grandmothers got it and died. And they went to a basketball game. This is before everybody knew how bad it is. Now these people are doing this knowing, I don't think they know how bad it is. Okay, then we know a trucker that got it, and then his wife got it. And then, if you don't know anybody and you think everyone is blowing smoke, go to producer Michael. You should watch him anyway because the show is excellent. But his friend, who owns Jacob and Company in New York, got it. And take a look at the guy. You can tell the guy has been deathly ill. And he came forward and said that he got the coronavirus. So today I was in the store, and I want to show you what I saw. Yes, this is not smart. And then I saw this. See how this mask is letting air in? You want to cover, what you're doing is you're covering your mouth and your nose, and if you have these masks, that's going to help you out. Or at least get something as good as you can. And also I saw employees in stores where the public is not allowed in the store without a mask, without masks. I consider them a danger to the public health, but what are you going to do? Another thing is the mentality of rules are for others. Maybe you don't agree with the stay-at-home orders. Another thing I thought they might be thinking is, well, everybody's got a mask on, so I'll just put my mask down. That is not safe. Hand washing. Okay, when I was a nurse, I trained myself. Remember Lady Macbeth, and she was trying to wash the murder out of her hands? Yeah, that's the approach that I take to hand washing, but not when I'm in these public bathrooms, because the contaminated air and environment is, I just wash them real quick and get out of there. Eliminate handshaking. That needs to be eliminated forever. And then assume everyone has a coronavirus or something worse. Okay, now this, that's extreme. Yeah, that's true. Capture the water in your bathtub and shower if you can, and flush your toilet. Pour it in your toilet to flush the lines. Also cover your drains with like those drain covers, so nothing can come up your drain, and cover your common vents. Also, in the future, when you can, consider dwellings only with fireplaces. We're looking into that. Also, try to adjust now and find the cheapest possible rent or mortgage. So if you're in a high mortgage and you knew that, or rent, and you knew that a famine was coming, take steps now. Don't wait. Cheapest possible rent and mortgage. Stable landlord. I had the sensation that they thought they were smart because they were getting another what is this called? down payment, you know, when you first move into first and last month, that kind of crap. Secure credit lines in advance. Okay, I was working in a salon and my customer goes, oh shit, I just lost my job. I go, do you have credit lines? He goes, yeah. And I go, well, go max them out and put it in the bank for now. So that might cost, he goes, that's a good idea. I go, yeah. That might cost you a few dollars, but that might keep you from losing your house or your car. Secure credit lines in advance. Okay. If it's cold, heat only one room at a time. Electric blankets and coal burning stove. Okay, now we're getting extreme, especially if you're a city dweller like I am. Okay. If possible, get chickens and rabbits for food and for eggs. Eliminate all leisure that costs money. You know, maybe have potlucks with friends and family and watch Netflix. I'd say indefinitely. Use your time to improve your dwelling and your yard. I posted a video for you guys to see the doves on my deck. My garden's looking terrible, but hey. Consider YouTube, eBay, swap meet, bazaar, yard sale. Sell fruits and vegetables by the side of the road, honey, tools, yard. When I was at the swap meet, I bought somebody's inventory of yard tools, rakes, and shovels, or buy somebody's entire yard sale or swap meet, buy the whole thing and make money selling their stuff. Okay, so now I want to mention something. One time I was at the swap meet, and there was a guy there, and you know, he had watches. Oh, I wanted to mention, you guys, I get these at Walmart. I stockpile these. Okay, I wanted to get this watch. This is a new watch. See, it still has the plastic on there. I wanted to get this watch. It's brand new and it's nice. And I said to the guy, how much? And he said, $50. I go, oh. I didn't go, oh, that's too much. And I thought, well, maybe I can get it somehow. It's really nice and it's really new, and it would be pretty easy to sell if I could get it. So what I did is I looked around on the table, and I went around on the table, and I found six watches. And this is one of the watches I found. And I thought, well, maybe if I buy more than one, he'll give me a good deal. And then when I got home, I realized this watch, both these watches retail for about $100. I realized this one's probably the better watch. So I got 6 watches, and I bought one watch that had been sized very small, like an Asian wrist. And I got that and 3 stainless steel watches. And I said, well, how much for all 6? And he said, well, how much would you pay? And I go, well, $20. And he goes, well, I have to make some money. How about 30? And I said, okay, I'll take them. So I took all 6 of the watches, and eventually I will sell these lovely watches. And then one day I was at the thrift store, and I bought this watch. This is a Bulgari, most likely a knockoff. And I bought it for like $1 or $2. So you might go, well, why buy a knockoff? Well, because they're always going to be in demand, because you can't afford $3,000 or $4,000 for a Bulgari watch. And then these are some, let's see. These are really nice sunglasses. I bought these one day, Bujo Turner. These are like $100, maybe more, and I bought them for about $1, and I'm selling them for $20. So once, and then, you know, like all these clothes I wear, I sell them for about $3. But if they buy 2, I give them $5, maybe cheaper, depends how much you buy. Okay, so put that in the back of your mind. you know, how to make a little bit extra money. So all this stuff is like survival skills. This is what I've been doing since I got out of the hairdressing trades. Okay, and then the last thing we want to prepare for, and this about wraps up my 3 months, is the grand solar minimum. The grand solar minimum will last 11 years, and the cold weather will impact the environment and the people. Like China is very cold. They're catching pneumonia now. What happens as it gets colder and colder and colder? Well, Elon Musk will have the robots making the Teslas. That was so damn smart, I almost consider buying one. Okay, grand solar minimum, which is going to cause less crops because the weather is very cold. We had lots of rain and it killed cattle and the crops. Also snow, when it melts and runs down, it will run from north to south and create terrible floods. So if you live south of a heavy snow, prepare for evacuation or floods. Or if your area has flooded before, say, oh no, this is only the beginning, and be thinking, what am I going to do? So the grand solar minimum will cause death of animals and crops. Maybe fish. I'm not sure. The Bible predicts 1/3 loss of animal and fish and birds. We had a loss of poultry. And so consider the grand solar minimum and start making preparations. Say, well, hopefully there's never going to be a famine, but if there is a famine, okay, between the Spanish flu and the Great Depression was 10 years. Chances are people just got poorer and poorer and poorer. Not all the people, but a lot of people. And I could see people dying in this coming mess. I really could. So, if you guys lasted out until the end, that's nice. If you have any nice, helpful comments, it would really be appreciated. The last video, the comments were awesome. Okay, you guys, God bless you all.